Great evening, everyone. Great holiday evening.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Great evening, all well, and yourselves?
Excelente. Thank you.
And you can smile. We don't charge.
We don't charge, huh?
Yeah, you do. Okay.
So we're going to be talking a little bit, guys, about selling bundles or selling just more than one plan at once. So whether you're selling the Cdlp and legal or Cdlp and identity theft or small business, you couple that with something. We're going to talk about just different ways of selling and different things and ways that we do it. Anybody in the audience, if you sell double plans and you've kind of made a habit out of doing that, when it's time for us to talk to the audience, if you could just raise your hand and have it up so that we can call on you to kind of hear how some people are doing that in the field, because we think it's important, definitely important to walk out of there with more than just a CDL plan. We've talked about this before about you kind of doing what word am I looking for? You're not doing justice to your driver by just selling them the CDL plan. You want to sell them more than just that. So so if you're going in there and selling the CDL and walking out of there, then you're really doing some harm there, because that driver is not protected. They don't have the emergency button. They can't get a wheel done. It's just too many things they can't do if they don't have the full setup. So we are going to speak to that a little bit. So if you do any bundle sales, I'm not talking about no mistake bundle sale that you did by mistake. I'm talking about you actually strategically doing bundle sales. Just put your hand up, and then when we get to the kind of the Q&A part of it, we will call on you to see how you've done it, some things that you've said, and maybe somebody can pull some tips off of that as well as they out there marketing themselves. So that's what we'll be covering today. We're going to get started with our introductions here in about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to go right into the information. So thanks again for joining us on this holiday Monday. And y'all all know that we do this call every single Monday, this Zoom, I should say, every Monday, even if it's a holiday, because it's recorded and it's on YouTube. So you can always go back and listen to it. So we appreciate you guys taking this time out this evening. While I know some of you guys got family, you out of town, whatever you got going on, you still spending some time with us. So give us about 10, 15 seconds. We're going to start our introduction, guys. Say every Monday, even if it's a holiday. I'm on YouTube as well. So if anybody's on YouTube and you are plugged in, just speak there. So if you've done some bundles and you want to kind of let me know what you're doing, just go ahead and drop that right in the chat on YouTube, and I can do it that way because I'm looking at both actually. So all right, so let's go ahead and get rolling here. So we're gonna I'll go ahead and turn it over to Miss Sharanda so she can get started with her introduction. So if you don't mind, Miss Sharanda, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Labor Day. I hope you guys got some rest today. Labor Day is for rest, I think. So, but anywho, so welcome to the CDLP coaching call. I'm Sharanda Ivy out of Georgia. I'm the CDLP state trainer for Georgia. Been with LegalShield for a little over 8 years now. We have done the 1000 Production App Award. We received that last year. Earned the 2019 Field Trainer of the Year, earning the Ladies of Justice Award for that. We are Business Solutions Sapphire Associates, top producer in small biz, one of the top producers. And just love this space. A few years ago, chose this as my major. Just get up now as Lamar says, and go out into the market and, you know, just look for transportation company and commercial drivers. I do love this industry. I don't have to focus on a whole lot of different things. I just stay in my lane with this. I mean, I'm a full service associate. I do have a team as well. And I'm a business solutions field trainer as well. But I do focus my efforts here in the Cdlp space. I do a lot of cross-selling, selling packages from small biz to commercial to the personal plan. So just interested tonight to see what others are doing in the market and how you guys are capitalizing and making sure you're servicing that associate. Because with that cross-selling technique, you definitely can, you know, service that entire client by selling multiple products, but serving a need. So I'm looking forward to hearing that tonight. I host the accountability call on Thursday nights, more like a mastermind call for those associates that's focused on the Cdlp space. That group of people are doing some phenomenal things. And if you haven't signed up yet, I'll be co-trainer this weekend with Alan Roman, our top producer in CDL, our senior trainer for CDL as well. So I'll be training along with him this weekend. So make sure you get registered. It's no walk-in, so don't be texting me the day of talking about you didn't get an email. So you have to about 3 o'clock Central Time to get in and register, guys. Go ahead and do that sooner than later so you can make sure you get your email by Friday. You know, so with that, I pass it over to you, Dunbar.
All right. So if you guys are on the email list by any chance, I sent an email out already. I sent 2 out, actually. I sent 1 email out to let you guys know about the training. And then I realized the link, or somebody let me know the link was not letting you guys get into the training. It was taking you to the old training. So a corrected email went out yesterday on Sunday. So you guys should have gotten that email. Another one will probably be going out today, Tuesday, Monday, probably Wednesday, I believe. I have one set to go out as well, again, as a reminder email for you guys. So remember, Friday, 3 p.m. Central Time. By Friday, 3 p.m. Central Time, you will not be able to register. So we can't do anything. We can't pull no strings. So don't send no email or no text or no message saying, can you pull strings and get me in? We don't have the power to do that now that everything is virtual, because corporate handles all that on their end, and they don't care nothing about us being trainers. They do not let us let people in. Once 3 p.m. Central Time hits on Friday, which is the 10th of September, you will not be able to get into that training. So just make sure you get registered beforehand. It is $49. You will be hearing from Sharanda Ivy and Mr. Alan Roman on that training. So I know we say it's the 3rd Saturday of every weekend. So if you guys realize this is not the 3rd Saturday, so just keep that in mind. This is the 2nd Saturday in September. So just make sure you're registered, make sure you're plugged in and ready to go. So I'm Robert Dunbar. I'm one of the trainers here with LegalShield in the Cdlp space. I'm also a networker. I also work with insurance agents. I also do the regular side of group where there's no Cdlp involved. And I work all the different areas because I like to get paid different ways, and those are different streams of income. And I like to be able to help as many people as I can in as many ways as I can with the membership. So I'm a 100K ring earner. I have 250K ringers on my team. And I work with agents of all kinds. Some sell life and health, some sell Aflac. All right. And I work with them all in the capacity of LegalShield because it gives me an opportunity to operate as a company and to be able to market this membership in the group space to truck drivers, to maybe a next door neighbor, and also people that are saying, hey, look, I want to make some extra money from home. How do I do that? Hey, guess what? They can join the company and they can do that from the comfort of their own home with a company that's been around for almost 50 years. So that's it. That's where we get that idea from. So we're going to talk about one of the things that sales, right? One of those things that people try to stay away from. They don't want to admit to being a salesman or a saleswoman. I do a lot of high ticket sales in my other little world that I live in. And I train people on high ticket sales because you have to know to start high and then come down low. Because if you start all the way at the bottom, then there's nowhere to go from there. So keep that in mind. So you cannot start at the bottom, because where do you go if that client says no? And most of the time they're going to say no, or it's too much the first time anyway, because it's psychological. So if you start at the top, then you can actually come down. So I'll start first with a story from a book that I've trained on, that I talk about, all those different things. So hold on one second. Let me get Sharon back in here. Sharon fell off. Give us 1 second, guys. Let me get her in here and get her as co-host. Sharon, gotcha. All right. So in the book, Go for No, and if you guys have never read that book, pick it up, by Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. And Go for No, there's a particular part of that story where there's a gentleman who was working in a clothing store, and his supervisor came in town. And when the supervisor came in town, he had his best day ever. Like, he had sold about $1,100 in clothes to a client that had come in. And he was really excited because he had done that, and the regional manager was there, and he felt like, hey, you know, the supervisor's here, the regional's here, and I just had my best day. And he went to the regional and asked the regional, hey, you know, did you see this is my biggest sale? And he said, no, that's great. I'm proud of you, but what did the guy say no to? And he kept saying, no, you don't get it. Like, I've never sold $1,100 in clothes to one person. And he said, no, I understand. And that's really good that he was able to do that. But what did the guy say no to? And the seller just kept not understanding why his regional could not really grasp his excitement that it was his best day. And what he couldn't understand was that his regional was trying to get him to understand is that you stopped selling when you psychologically got to your limit, right? Your spending limit. And that's what we do all the time. We won't sell more than we're willing to buy, right? So if you've never spent X amount of dollars on a product or service, you probably won't sell one that costs that same amount of money, simply because it's a psychological limit, right, for yourself, right? And that's we all have limiting beliefs, and sometimes we will unintentionally put those on other people. So you're thinking to yourself, oh, if I had a business, right, I would just get the $99 small business plan. I'm not gonna get the $169 because I don't really need that. I'll just do the $99. I'll just spend $100 a month on my business. So then you won't sell that plan, even though that customer may need that plan. So guys, understand in the beginning of this conversation, this is not at all about us saying you should be selling products and services to get points, to get premium dollars, to win trips, right? To qualify for bonuses. No, you should be selling what the customer needs, but don't not sell something because you wouldn't buy it. And that's what I want you guys to understand about when I'm saying high ticket sales. In LegalShield, a high ticket sale is only going to be a few $100s, right, for a high ticket sale. In some companies, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It depends on what you're selling for a living. Right here in this company, high ticket sales is pretty much a low end deal. So you're talking about asking a customer for a few $100s a month. Guys, you're talking about having somebody spend probably less than $2,000 a year to have an attorney protect them and their household and their business if you're bundling a business plan along with the other things that they're getting, which is not a lot of money when you're asking somebody to spend money on something consistently that gives them the power to talk to an attorney about any subject matter. And especially with this small business plan we have now, with it being we're all over. Like, that was really great for us, especially if you're selling it to a company that does trucking over the road. The fact that they can use that law firm and deal with situations that may have not happened in the state that they formed their company. So I want you guys to understand, one, just a couple of tips here. One, you need to be using your membership, because if you're not using your membership, you are not going to feel like the value is there to market a plan that, to market all of those plans. If you've used your identity theft plan, if you've used your family plan, if you've used the business plan before, you know how valuable they are. So saying to somebody else they need to get them with passion comes pretty naturally. So it's not difficult to do at all. So just understand that you've got to be the kind of person that says, hey, I see value because I've used it. That's one of the key areas when it comes to asking for a high ticket sales, for you to feel like what you're offering has value. So what I would do is I'm gonna give you guys just an assignment, like for yourself. If you have not used our family plan, then I'm telling you within the next 7 days, between this Monday and next Monday, I would ask you to use it. I don't care if you use it to get a healthcare power of attorney. I don't care if you use it to get your will started. Pick up the phone and call and just ask any general question about any business or personal legal situation that you may have that you can just ask a question about. It starts there. If you have not used the membership, like, shame on you. So as an assignment, I would like to ask you all to just pick up the phone and use the membership yourself to make sure that you have the power yourself. I want to make sure Sharon, you there? Can you activate stuff? Let me make sure I got it.
No, you gave it to Sandra C.
You
Now
said
I'm
I
good.
made Sandra C a co-host?
Yeah, instead of Sharon Holiday.
Okay. All right, there we go. You should be good now. All right, so sorry about that, guys. Can you still hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. All right, so make sure you're using the membership. So I would task you guys with that assignment of using the membership yourself so that you feel a little bit more comfortable about it. If you haven't used your identity theft plan, of course, obviously you can't curate an identity theft problem so you can use it, but I would ask you to pick up the phone and call and just use the 24/7 part of the identity theft plan, meaning that you're simply just going to pick up the phone and call and just ask a question about identity theft, ask about something that happened lately and see whether or not you need to be doing something about it. Walk yourself through the process because that helps your level of excitement and you wanting a customer to go through that same process. If you own a business, if you have the business plan, I would tell you to use that. If you don't have the business plan, I would suggest, obviously, if it's not in your budget, if you flat out cannot afford to get it, obviously I'm going to ask you to get the business plan if you can't afford it. But if you're on this Zoom, then you're a business owner. So even if you just have the rider for the business, right? The home business supplement, you should have that at least if you don't have the business plan, because you do own the business by being a LegalShield associate. So I would ask you to at least have that. And if you do have it, pick up the phone and call and ask a legal business question, guys. Again, that's the first step, is really using the plan yourself so that you feel comfortable using it and you see that there's value in it and you can really answer questions if somebody calls you and asks you. So that would be one thing. The second thing I would tell you is, again, start high. Start high. Don't go in and say $30 for the membership if you're in a group space, $30 for the CDL plan, or if you're in a non-group space, $32.95, $25 enrollment fee. Go in there and bundle that with the family plan. And if they say that it costs too much, you can read their face, their body language that says it costs too much, then you can come down. Use the interactive flyer, because the interactive flyer makes it easier for you to actually market both of them because they're both on the flyer. Sharon, you got your hand up?
Yes, it doesn't appear as if you're recording at this time.
No, I'm not, but it's
I just
it's
said live.
It's on YouTube recording, so it's going to catch it there. So thanks for letting me know that.
Okay, I'm on my phone, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I know on my end because I can see another screen, but no, it's on YouTube. It's being caught there. So I would just make sure you make sure you have those things in place, and make sure that you use the interactive flyer. The interactive flyer makes it easier because when you present that to your client, guess what? They're already seeing both plans on that sheet. On the bottom of that interactive flyer, you've got the pricing down there. So not only are they seeing both plans, but it's got the pricing on the bottom, so you don't have to go into all of those things of, hey, there's two plans. They can see that on the sheet. If you don't use the interactive flyer, or if you feel like you still need to say something, one of the ways that I use, and after this, I'm gonna turn it over to Sharana so she can give you guys some tips, and then we'll kind of bounce it back and forth. One of the things I do is I use the 60 hours of trial time as a way to move that conversation over if it's a CDL driver. I'll talk about it that way. Or when I talk about tragic accident, I'll do it from there. So if I was talking to Sharanda Ivy, she was the truck driver, I would say, remember, you have tragic accident coverage. So if anything happens while you're in this vehicle and you have an accident, somebody dies in the other vehicle, or they charge you with any criminal charges based on it being a tragic accident, you've got 100% tragic accident coverage. If after that time, if they try to come after you and sue you afterwards, then you've got 60 hours in your family plan. So that's a good way to move that conversation over by saying, hey, we have tragic accident, this is what it does. But in most cases, when there's a tragic accident situation, the family will come back and sue. And as an individual, you still have your 60 hours of trial time if you've had the plan for at least 12 months. And then over 12 months, it'll add up. That's how I go into the family plan. That's how I make that seamless transition to the other plan. And then I say, now remember, also with the family plan, I'll go there. Or I may use the emergency button side of it to talk about why it's important to have the family plan. So I use all different kinds of ways to move it over, but I definitely talk about both plans. And then Sharanda Ivy can talk to you also how she's doing the small business plan, which is obviously a bundle if you're selling the CDL and a small business plan. So you guys will get that tip as well here too. But those are just some things that I do and I say to transition that over. But guys, do not walk out of that sale with just that CDL plan unless that client tells you that they do not want both plans, or that they can't afford it, or they'll come back and get it later on. But don't let it be because you didn't offer it. Ms. Sharanda?
Awesome tips. And I'll just add to that, when you talk about the membership, I guess one thing that has helped me in this, just with my LegalShield business, I mean, don't get it twisted. I sell all plans, I just focus on CDL, but I mean, I sell direct to individuals as well. But one thing I will say about that is when Dunbar talks about using your plan, if you don't know the membership and how the membership can help the client, you're going to struggle in trying to present that. I mean, you're just going to feel like you got to tell them everything about that entire plan. And that's not really what you do. I mean, just remember, we come to solve problems, right? So with that, you got to know the problems that the people are having that you're talking to. And I guess, I would say the best way to do that is ask questions. And, with me, that's a conversation, not interrogation. So you just ask questions. And so in the commercial space, because that's what we're talking about here right now, you just got to familiarize yourself too with the industry. You got to know what type of things that they are going through. Not that you got to know everything about the commercial and transportation, but it does help to have a better conversation. So, I mean, just asking questions about the company, about, normally, hopefully, most people have learned how to read the report because that gives you some leeway on not walking in, not knowing anything. So if you've, taken a look at the safety report, now you can have a better conversation or tailor your questions to ask so you can show the value proposition of what we're offering. And, just touch on, for me personally, I just touch on 3 key things. I talk about I talk about the accident coverage that we have for the drivers. I always talk about how, I ask the carrier or the owner, what do you have in place? Because every time that driver rolls off in your truck, he rolls your whole business with him. So I want to know, what do you have in place to protect your company? Also, I talk about, the non-moving and moving violations. That's huge, right? Because that's how we keep their livelihood. That's how we keep them employable and insurable, by protecting that commercial license against those. And one thing I, recently added to make sure that, I ask in the conversation, not that we still can't sell the plan, but sometimes it gets misunderstood by the member. We help with moving and non-moving violations, but we have to be clear to explain that, with that, a lot of times they need a court date. You know, if they don't have a court date, it's really, really hard for us to do anything if they just have fines associated with that citation. So we have to, you know, just make sure we, you know, ask the right questions and tell, you know, talk about the right things, because we don't want a carrier to, you know, get a citation and it just has a fine on it. I mean, there's nothing we can do with that, you know. So just asking the right questions, and, you know, like Dunbar said, we have to know our plans as well. Um, you know, learning what the plan does, reading the contract, that's very important, but just picking out those things that maybe we see on the safety report or through the questions that you ask. Sometimes, you know, just asking some questions, you know, the owner or whoever is in charge will tell you more information than you expected to get. And so that helps. Another thing as well, when I sell the combo, selling the legal plan, because the CDL plan covers that criminal charge. You know, if they, you know, have an accident and name, you know, vehicular homicide or manslaughter, that's criminal. But what if they come back and try to sue civilly? So that's what I point out with that personal plan. Yeah, I know they have personal issues at the house, but at the end of the day, that employer is trying to keep that driver focused, right? You know, on the road. They don't want them distracted. And if they have things going on at the house, that personal plan can help them with that. But when it comes to the commercial coverage, you know, that civil part, you know, coming back to have that civil coverage, I think is helpful. But then too, I talk about the 24 emergency access, not the fact that they're a CDL driver, but that they're a human being and they have our personal plan. They still can use that. Just because they're a CDL client doesn't mean they can't use that 24 emergency access. If something was to happen, you know, at the end of the day, if they do have an accident, maybe they just rattled, they just nervous, they just don't know what to do. I promise you that if they have the coverage, they can call their state attorney, maybe just to give them some advice to just maybe not say anything to, you know, say something against them. However, but, you know, just make sure you cover that driver, you know, and make sure you, you know, just ask a lot of questions. A lot of, you know, some other issues that the personal plan can have with this child support. Those things affect that driver's license, you know. They might have to come out of pocket to pay for some coverage on that, but that personal plan would give them some coverage on that. So just think about the client and what type of, you know, if you're talking to a commercial driver, just think about some of the things they're going through and how our plan can help. And like Dunbar said, don't worry about the money, because at the end of the day, a lot of times we count our pockets versus theirs. And when you show value, it doesn't matter how much it costs. Because like I always tell them, whatever we're offering, it's less than whatever they'll pay for anywhere else. And we're probably the lowest thing that they're paying for, but we're the one thing that keeps their doors open or keep them with the ability to drive. So, so that's when it comes to the combo, when the CDL and the legal plan. But, you know, for those that know me, you know that I lead with the small business plan. I've always led with the small business plan because my take on that, if I can share with the owner, how we can help his company, I feel he would give us the ability to talk to his drivers after that. But if I lead with talking about, oh, we want to help your drivers, we have to be we have to be cautious on that, because every company don't like their drivers. And they don't understand that their drivers are what push their numbers. So if you go in talking about, oh, how I'm gonna help your driver, you might have an owner that really doesn't care about his driver. He's just cared about his company, and he doesn't understand that his drivers are what causes his numbers to be elevated, or the problems that he's having in his company, whether it's their fault or not. So you just have to test the waters and just kind of feel the room, or feel feel the conversation when you're having those conversations on which way to go with. Not saying that leading with the small business plan is the best way. That's just my way. That's what I do. So just see what works for you. All right. So Dunbar.
So you said something right at the end there that's really good for people to understand, because typically in a regular group space, as you well know, that's a very common thing to say. We're here to help your employees. We're here to help your employees. We're here to help your employees. And we assume that the HR rep, and it's funny because when I used to do like group training on the other side, I would say, right, no offense to any of the HR reps in the room, but all HR reps don't care about the employees. Quit assuming that. Don't assume the HR rep cares about whether the employees have legal issues, because they don't. Some HR reps, they got a job, like some of us. Some of us have had job before, right? Yes. Put one in the chat if you've worked somewhere before and not really cared about the work, right? So it's like, how many of us have done that before, right? I work somewhere, but I don't really care about what I'm doing. This is what I could get for right now. So I took the job, and you do the thing. But you're not really going to work all excited and saying, hey, look, you know what I mean? I'm ready to do this thing, right? We're not doing that. So assume that way too. Sometimes the HR rep does not care whether or not that employee is taken off because they got a legal issue and they're saying it's a health issue. And sometimes the trucking company owner or the safety manager does not realize that when that driver gets into a bad situation, that it's affecting them just as much as it's affecting that driver. And sometimes they don't know that. And we're assuming that they know that. We're assuming that they know their field, they know their craft, and they know how that whole thing works. But if you've been out there talking, you know that you can say DAC report, and sometimes they look cross-eyed. You can say data queue, and sometimes they look cross-eyed. And you can say, well, you know, if that driver gets a citation or violation, it affects your safety score, it affects your safety score. And they're looking like, no, that's the look they're giving you because they don't know. So we can't assume that they know. So it's important to say those things, because now when you say, hey, protecting that driver protects the company, it's like, yeah, it does. So just keep those things in mind. Don't ever assume that the person you're talking to has knowledge. That's why I think something that Sharanda Ivy, she's been, ever since I've been knowing her, she's been doing it. And I like her and Sharon Larry, both of you guys. I hear y'all talk about that more than I hear any other sales rep in this company talk about that. Is asking questions. Because how are you marketing something to anybody without asking them questions about their circumstances before you start selling to them? The more you know, the easier it is to find a pain point. But sometimes we're so nervous and we're so antsy about getting our message out, right? It's like having a debate with somebody that we care about. And instead of you hearing what they say back, you're waiting for them to stop so you can say something else. That's what we do. We walk in there and it's like, you want to say your script and you just completely you don't listen to the customer. You don't listen to the client. So you miss them saying why they don't need it or why they don't think they need it. Or you don't hear that they respond in a way to let you know that they don't know something that you know, and you don't make a point to talk about that enough to make the sale. And that's what we're missing the point at. So I think that's really huge that you talk about that all the time. Asking questions, especially when it comes to that higher ticket small business sale. Ask questions. Yeah. Make sure that they understand how their company is working, right? Don't assume we know, because they own the business and they just know. Don't assume that. Ask questions so that you have the proper information. That's why pulling the safety score helps you close the deal. It changes your conversion rate because you don't assume that they're doing bad, right? We had a couple of associates that walked in and said, hey, we're here to help you with your safety score. And we don't got no problem with our safety score. Why would you think that? Why do you think we got problems with our safety score? And you haven't pulled it. You just saying a script without doing the homework ahead of time. So it's so important to make sure when you walk in that you understand those things wholeheartedly, so that when you're making that sale, you can feel comfortable about adding. When they trust you and you selling them that plan, it's easy to add on. It's easy to go in there and say, hey, look, let's talk about protecting your business. And then, hey, let's get these employees under this umbrella as well. So like Sharanda said, she goes in there and she offers a small business plan first, starting at the top. She's going at that big sale, not because she's looking for organizational counters or premium dollars, but because she's saying, hey, look, let me protect the company and then the people in it. Does that make sense? So go in it from that sales approach and obviously it works. I mean, she got an LOJ award. She keeps being right whenever they're doing these small business workshops that they're doing. They keep mentioning her name. I mean, so obviously what she's doing is working. So it's like really not any place to question whether or not that system works, right? It's like saying, well, does Alan Roman know what he's doing? Does he know what he's doing? He's the #1 Cdlp producer in the company, right? Does Lamar Reynolds know what he's doing? Of course he does. He's got over 100 groups open. They're CDL groups. He's got a 100K ring and he doesn't do anything but CDL. So at some point you have to stop questioning, right, what's coming out of the trainer's mouth or the seller's mouth and ask, is what you're doing working? Right? Are you following, right? Am I listening to my upline or somebody in my state that doesn't do CDLP that's saying, hey, do it this way? So listen to the trainers, listen to the field trainers, listen to the people who can say, hey, look, I've gotten to this point by doing this thing. Selling more than one plan at a time just makes sense. Randy Hooker, every single week, every Tuesday, what does he post? Every Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning. I went into this company that I do a weekly presentation for new hire orientation, and he always says he sold doubles. He always particularly puts when he sells doubles. Why does he do that? Because he's sending a message. He's going in there, he's talking about both plans, guys. He's talking about both plans. So I'm the hand that's raised. I'm gonna get this hand that's raised, and then I'm gonna ask Sharon to mention. Oh, that's my hand raised. How did I do that? How did I raise my hand? What in the world is going on? Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and go over to you, Sharon.
Yes, I had a young person ask me the other day in regards to the legal plan itself. And I said, no, when it comes to the commercial drivers, you got to protect their livelihoods, which is the commercial driver's license itself. And then if they have a family back at home, you want to protect the family with the life events legal plan, or some of you all know it as the legal plan itself, because why that person, that male or female driver is on the road, life happens at home because it happens to us every day. That's why we market the legal plan. But I tell anybody, like you just discussed, don't be concerned about the cost. I don't count anybody else's wallet or their pocketbooks when it comes to our legal service plans, because I'm short selling them if I don't give them the smorgasbord. I don't give them the smorgasbord all at one time. Once I found out the discovery and ask questions to see what they qualify for, to see if they have different locations and or how many employees do they have, how many drivers do they have, what concerns them, and or how they're handling any citations or violations that's coming through. Once I do the discovery, then I already know what program that I'm gonna bring to the table and educate them on, this would be a better fit for you for this one and or that one, in regards to the truck drivers and the business owner itself. So with that said, Robert, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, good stuff. So do we have any either questions or anybody in the audience who sells double and wants to give a tip on something that they do to sell double? Just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll call you. If you don't know how to raise your hand, just unmute yourself and just let us know who you are. Because I know some people can't find that that in their buttons there.
And there's no questions in the chat at this time.
Okay, going once. Going twice. All right, Sharon, anything else before we move on? Because we can talk about some other things.
No, I just think I think conversation is good. Asking a lot of questions, but most importantly, knowing your plans, like you said. I've talked to a lot of associates that, they just want to talk about everything on the plan, and that's not what you do. And you have to remember too that these people only have a limited amount of time, whether you're talking to, a big company or a small carrier. I mean, either way, the time is crunch. And so you got to make sure that, you're making good points for the time that you have. You really want to catch their attention. And even if the time is considered to be limited, the goal is always to set the appointment. You shouldn't, I don't think, I've learned that you shouldn't just go in and just trying to just say everything at once, because you got to remember you're interrupting people's day, right? So it's best to get some scheduled time. But I know we get anxious when we feel we talking to the right person, and you like, I got him right now. I'm gonna talk to him now because I might not can get him again. You can't have that type of mindset, I mean, you'll run yourself crazy and you'll be losing a lot of people because you just won't do it properly because you're so anxious and so rushed and feel like you got to say everything about everything. And really, you're just messing up your prospect by doing that. So you have to have a goal in mind when you're prospecting, however you're doing it, whether you're calling or showing up in person, you have to have a goal in mind. People always say, oh my God, I didn't know they were going to talk to me. I didn't know they was going to do that. Well, what did you expect when you called? You got to know that they might say, talk to me now. Or when you walk in, talk to me now. But, people, you got to have a plan. You got to know that they might say, I got time now. And you got to be prepared to be ready to say something. So just think about that. Preparation is key.
Good stuff. So I'm gonna pose a couple of questions that I've heard in the past. Just how would you deal with those things? So I'm talking to a CDL driver, whether it be in a group space or just in an individual space, it doesn't matter. And I offered a family plan to this driver, and the driver says, "Well, I got a CDL license. Like, why? What is the family plan thing? Why do I need that? Why would I buy that?"
First of all, I think, and this is just me learning in the space, for situations like that. I don't call it a family plan because an individual don't have a family be first to say, I don't need that. I don't have a family, right? So I call it the personal plan, but also, too, that I don't kind of separate that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I don't say, hey, Dunbar, we got this CDL plan for you. Because first of all, he might not be a CDL endorsed holder. He might just be a commercial driver driving up on an authority. He might not have the CDL endorsement. So right there, I killed it there because he's going to say, girl, I ain't got no CDL. Okay, so I learned not to say CDL. We have a commercial legal plan. And I don't say family plan because that individual who's not married will say, I ain't got no family. I'm good with that. I just say we have a commercial plan, and my commercial plan it's both plans together because I don't make them separate. And I just learned that. I mean, because I want to cover the driver with both coverages, so I don't make it separate. I don't talk as if it's separate. I just talk about the benefits.
Okay, so we just learned something here, right, guys? So she doesn't say a CDL plan. She says commercial. She never separates them to begin with, so she doesn't have to say, "Hey, how about the family plan or the personal plan or the life events legal plan?" She's selling it in a bundle from the beginning, right? So she doesn't have to break it down unless that person asks, "Is there a cheaper price?" or whatever the person says that lets her know that they can't afford both of those plans together. So I see you shaking your head no. So if you did your pitch, whatever your pitch would be, and I'm like, well, so it says that's the cost. Like, y'all don't have a lower price than that.
Why would they think I had a lower price?
Some people just ask because they can't afford stuff. So it's like, hey, do you guys have anything left?
I said the benefits and how much all that costs, Ms. Iris. But I'm one to ask questions. So if I ask questions, couple of questions about the CDL coverage or the commercial coverage, couple of the personal things, talking about the 24 emergency access, the child support, the civil case, or just things that at home. But then, my other question is, do you have any problems with taxes? As a 1099, most of them have problems with taxes. And so if they do, and they'll say, God, and I'll talk about, yeah, we can help with that, cover you, state to state, things like that. And, You know, a lot of them do have child support issues. You know, that might be at a cost, but we can, you know, definitely give you access to an attorney to help you with that as well. You know, how much all that cost, Miss Ivy? About $60. Sometimes I say 65. You know, if they don't have any tax problems, it's $51. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. And how is the term life events legal plan? Do you think that, have you seen that work better, or just personal planning?
I don't say that. I say personal plan. I don't say I just say
Gotcha.
personal plan. I've always
All
said
right.
personal plan. I say commercial plan. And I learned that, like I said, because I've had people say, you know, when I used to call it family plan, because we used to call it family plan, you know, just corporate, you know, call it family plan. But, you know, individuals say, well, I don't have a family. I don't need that. Got an individual plan. You know, they took away that portion of our coverage. You know, we just have, you know, one legal plan. So, you know, it became a personal plan, you know, but I say personal coverage because I don't separate it. It's a commercial plan. You know, we have a commercial
Love it.
plan. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I
love
don't
it. Yeah.
separate. Yeah.
No, I do. So what about on the business side? So you're talking to a owner operator or whoever in the logistics world that you're marketing to, and you're selling the business plan, and that same thing, the owner says, so what can I use this business plan if one of my drivers gets a ticket or a citation or violation and is written on behalf of the company? Because this happened to me before. So what's going to happen when I get these tickets that come in my office in the company's name? So do y'all fight those with the business plan?
So no, you have to really make sure that you have these owners. You have to make sure they really understand that this business plan is really business management coverage. It does nothing with violations, citations. It does nothing with that. So when that company get a citation in their name, in hopes you need that driver to have the plan. Even though it's in that company's name, that driver needs to have a plan. So this business management plan that you have does nothing with these violations that I'm speaking about. And you have to make that very clear, because again, you got those owners out there that's only concerned about their business, and they hear business coverage and they'll think that all falls under that if you're not very clear to them that no, we have coverage for your drivers that fight those citations.
All right, good stuff, and that's good that we covered that, because that question came up actually this week, I believe it was either on a LegalShield page or our Cdlp page. It came up about.
That's why you have to have conversations. A lot of people, they're so quick to want to sell these high price. You know, these business plans would bring a lot of commission, but if you missell that business plan, you got to charge back, because the first time that owner think he can use that for a citation and he can't, he's gonna cancel that. So you got to make sure you having good conversation with these owners if you're going to sell a business plan. That's why I say you got to know your plans, and you need to know about the industry some, because that business plan can help them with issues about managing their business and other things that they're dealing with as a business owner, and it's not violations. So you got to know that. And if you don't, and you're going in there selling that business plan and telling lies, you're going to have a charge back.
Telling lies. I love it. So, and that's been a huge part of selling that business plan, is for people to understand, because those citations and violations are sometimes written under the company's name. And it's important to understand that our law firms will fight those if the person who was driving did have our plan, but that's not written anywhere. So it's interesting, right. You know, so because we don't have it written anywhere, like, don't promise that. Just say, hey, look, right, do me a favor, send over the violation citation, and we'll let them know that the driver had it, was there, that was driving, has our plan, but the ticket was still written in their company name, and they normally take. I haven't seen them yet reject one for any of my drivers, but you know, I just make sure that you're doing that so that you understand. Don't have them use the business plan. Don't sell the business plan based upon that, because you will get that's a nice chargeback if you don't have you don't have that money put up through corporate to make sure that you can stop a chargeback, because they will try to use it for that if you don't let them know by just selling that plan. So no, that's good stuff. I appreciate you opening up about that. So any questions about that before we move on to anything else?
No,
We good? Going once,
no questions.
going twice. We got nothing on YouTube. Let me see. Hold on. No, hold on. Chargeback and persistency drops. Yeah. That's correct. Yeah, chargeback and persistency drops. So so we only got about 7 minutes left, so we ain't gonna get into any deep topics. So obviously, you know, we've got a training coming up this week that you're going to be doing along with Alan Roman. And I know that in the CDLP space, you know, we talk about this week after week after week, and it still continues to kind of be the same thing with CDL plan. People are running in to take the training, and they're saying they want to do CDLP, but they don't really want to do this space. They just got a couple of people that they want to wrap the plan around. And it's, I try to, I guess when I talk to people, I try not to discourage them. I try to like take my time when I answer that question to not discourage them to not get into CDL, but understand that getting into CDL takes a lot more than just going to the training and understanding what the plan does, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to fast start training as a new associate, and then I start moving, or I'm gonna go to advanced product training, or I'm gonna go to group school and I can go open up a group. CDL is a little bit different. To me, there's a lot of knowledge to understand about this field, about understanding what drivers are going through out here on the field before you get to selling it. Because people are gonna take it, refresher, brand new, whatever they've got going on, they're going into this thing and thinking, hey, I'm going here, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna get myself certified, not qualified, but certified, and then I'm gonna come right out of there and start selling plans, because once I know what the plan does, I can sell it to drivers. And like, what do you caution against that with, you know, because I know you like ask questions, know the field. So how do you caution against that?
You know, that's why I think corporate has, you know, even your insurance people, they advise them to call in the corporate and have a conversation if they don't just go ahead and sign up for a class, you know, because as an insurance agent, you know, they already considered certified, but corporate knows that it's a different industry. And if you hadn't really played in that space, you're going to missell the plan. You're going to sell it wrong or whatever. But I would say to associates, it's even though people do this, not a lot of them, but it's like that commercial driver that goes to CDL school. I wouldn't want him in my truck by himself right out of school, right? You know, I just wouldn't. It's just I mean, like, I didn't just, you know, I've been in the business, 8 years, and even when I said this was going to be my major, and I just saw the question pop up, say, how do you learn about the trucking industry? Just like you sit there and you read about politics and you read about what's going on in your city. You know what I'm saying? That's how you learn. You go research that and you study that. You know, you watch TV, you go on computers and you Google things. And, you know, if you like sports, you subscribe to Sports Illustrated, right? You go subscribe to those things. You go and look for that information to educate yourself. I mean, people don't have to tell you how to go pay your bills. People don't have to tell you, you know what I'm saying? You know, we got to take advantage. We got to be adults about this. And I'm not saying this to be harsh, but that's where the sales come in, right? That's where the knowledge come in, because LegalShield can't teach us everything. This is a whole business, right? Like, they give us phenomenal training, but Dunbar didn't just wake up today and say, oh, I'm gonna be a consultant training, I'm gonna train people. You studied that, right? Like, you sharpen your skills. I mean, nobody didn't tell you where to go look for that. You figure that out, right? I mean, like, we just have to figure it out. I mean, if it's something you're interested in, you have all types of channels to go Google it, just figure it out, man. But I'll tell you what taught me was activity. I would talk to a commercial driver today and ask some questions, and he said some things or she said some things. that taught me how to go talk to the next one. Either I would say something that they said when I talked to them, or I asked the question a little bit different. But if we sit back and wonder and wait and not do activity, we'll never learn. I think we learn by doing, or we learn by reading or whatever. Just figure it out, but like I said, just Google it. Just Google things. It's a lot of publications out there. It's a lot of publications out there, and just figure it out.
So looking at that, and I'm talking to everybody, but Karen asked a question. So I'm saying Karen, but everybody who needs to know the information, like you said, okay, so one, right? Googling and pulling stuff up, right? Getting involved, anything else, like anything that you would want to do. If you were saying, you know what, I'm tired of rent, I'm going to buy a house. How do you educate yourself on the housing market, or what realtor to use, or what real estate company? You start Googling and figuring out what's the best, right? So get involved in the industry by looking at different articles and stuff that talk about trucking, right? That's one thing. Two, definitely take the Cdlp certification training at least 4 times a year. I suggest that you take it quarterly. Every 90 days, you should be taking another Cdlp certification. That's only $200 a year, guys. $200 a year to keep making sure you're getting fresh information. Plus, you're hearing from different trainers. You're always hearing from Alan, but you're hearing from one of the other trainers that train alongside Alan, right? That's another thing, right? Third, every Monday, if you can't be on every Monday at 8:30 Eastern, guess what? The YouTube channel, we've got every Zoom from September 7th of last year until right now. And for 2 years, all the recordings before that are all on the Facebook Cdlp channel. If you want to know about this industry and this plan, that is a very great place to go. Karen or anybody else, go to the Facebook page, the Cdlp Facebook page. Go to, what's the name of that area, Shereen? I can't even think. Announcements, right? Go to click on announcements, and you'll see all the Zoom recordings, and you'll also see the audio recordings. Now, if you want just the Zoom recordings, you can go to the Facebook, to my YouTube channel. And then when you click on my channel, just scroll down and you'll see a playlist, and it's going to be nothing but Cdlp. How are you going to know it's not for Cdlp? Because the background on the thumbnail is going to look just like my background looks right now. You're going to see Lamar back there, me back there, Sharanda back there, Randy back there, and it's going to say Cdlp Sales Motivation. We're on number 55 right now. This is our 55th recording of this Zoom that we do, because we do it weekly. So obviously, we're on 3 weeks, 4 weeks past 3 weeks past the year now at this point on recording this. So make sure that you understand that. You can get it there. There's a video on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook page called the third annual Cdlp prospecting video. Please make sure you look at that video. It's about 1 hour and 45 minutes. That will let you know not only about the industry, but about our plan. You'll hear from Catherine Pouliot, who is a third-party safety manager for trucking companies. And you'll hear from Sharanda Ivy, Randy Hooker, showing you how to prospect trucking companies, how to do that on truckdriver.com, and Lamar and Catherine talking about pulling safety scores and what everything means. So you can get all that information there. Plugging into this call, being on the Thursday accountability call. So you're saying, hey, look, I'm getting involved. I'm calling on trucking companies. I'm understanding that field. Get on the Thursday call with them, speak up, talk about what you're doing, and then create some accountability partners on that call and move into that field. Those would be the steps that I would tell you that it would take to learn the industry. Because what I don't want you to do is just to be studying frozen. Don't be looking at your trucking industry, but you're not doing anything in the industry, because we learn by doing. So you're going to have to fall on your face. So I'm telling you, if you don't have no scars, you ain't been through nothing, right? They say, how do you know a leader? Because they're probably laying on their face with spears in their back, right? Arrows in their back, because they've done it. They've done the thing. So on top of all of the literature and taking the course 4 times a year and all that stuff I just mentioned, guys, you got to go out there and either knock on doors or call trucking companies and expect to be told off. Expect to get the phone hung up on you. Expect people to say, no, I don't need nothing like that. I had it before. Don't call me again. I don't want no sales calls. All the crap that they're going to say on the other end of the line, expect to hear that and know that that's part of the process. because that is how you're going to learn about the industry. And guess what? You're going to get some really interesting conversations that's going to lead to some real interesting closings. That's going to lead to a lot of money. But you've got to go out here and do it. If you don't go out here and do it, nothing's going to change. So the best way to learn about the industry is to be in the industry, not as a driver, but as a person that's going out here and talking to these companies and saying things to them and being inside doing the lounge meetings and all that kind of stuff. Because I talk to the drivers when I'm in the lounge meetings. They're telling me what's going on. Truck drivers like to talk. So when I'm sitting in them lounge meetings, you ain't got to worry about falling asleep in the lounge meeting because them truck drivers going to talk you to death. They're going to come in there. They're going to talk to you about everything from their family to driving to whatever they saw on the road. They're going to tell you all this stuff. Whatever it is you need to hear, they're going to talk to you about it. So they will talk to you about their trucking experience. The ones that drive local and the ones that drive over the road. They'll tell you all of the things that they're dealing with. So it's conversation. You can engage with them and you can talk to them. I enjoy calling truck drivers. I'll tell you that. I'll call a truck driver cold all day before I call a regular person. Because the conversation, in my opinion, is easier to have. When I call a driver and say, hey, look, I'm calling, I work with your company to offer you these plans, the driver is normally, right, after about 5 or 10 seconds of that conversation, they warm right up. And when I call on that family plan code, man, it take longer than 10 seconds to warm somebody up. So the drivers, you can talk to them and learn about, what they're dealing with and have fun with the conversation. And you learn the industry in the process. That will be my advice as well on learning that industry, man. Get out there and do it. Like, Sharanda been saying this since she's been a part of this call. Just do it. Go out there and do it. You got to get out there and get your feet wet, right? And like Lamar says, get your sea legs, right? Go out there and get your sea legs. And that's how you make it all happen. So it's 9:34. So we're 4 minutes past 9:30. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up real quick. Anything else we got, Ms. Sharanda? You on mute.
I'll just say that if you haven't looked at the annual trainings, we're up to the third one. If you haven't looked at that, you really want to, because before we did that, I remember, calling trucking companies or talking to drivers and not having that information. It was hard, right? Like, it was really hard. But if you go ahead and look at those trainings, we're on the third one, but it won't hurt you to look at 1 and 2 as well. You'll learn a lot. And if you can learn how to look at those safety scores, it'll help. It'll take away the fear, and you can have a better conversation. But I promise you, you're going to get, I ain't going to say it like that, but you might get kind of eaten alive going in there cold, because you're going to find yourself stuck. You're not going to know what to say when, like Dunbar said, you go in there trying to go off on Lamar's script and they like, what safety score, what bad score? You just don't want to get stuck. You want to have some ammunition to talk. So if you haven't looked at that video, look at the video. It'll help a lot. It'll give you a site to go find prospects. People want to know where you get prospects from. So that's very beneficial. And just, listen at the replays. But other than that, Dunbar, that's it. And I hope to see you guys on the training on Saturday. As much as I can, I'll train on what I can. But it is corporate. So we'll do what we can do.
I like that. I like that. Sharon, anything you want to add before we go?
No, nothing's, I just dropped in the chat window where you go to register at before Friday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. The blitz is tomorrow to start dialing. Get your sea legs tomorrow on the blitz, a 2-hour blitz. Get your knees and elbows and face scraped up just by dialing the commercial drivers or whatever platform you want to work in. Take advantage of that. And that's it. That's all I have at this time.
Good stuff.
We have the expo this week.
Oh, the expo.
Go ahead. You said the expo this week?
It's Wednesday. We have the
Wednesday.
expo.
Gotcha. And Daniel Chu mentioned about Driver Appreciation Week, throwing the dates out there for Driver Appreciation Week.
That's good.
All right, guys.
Just know that trucking companies don't just honor that week. So just use it, to your advantage. That's just another way to break ice. So.
Absolutely. All right, good stuff. And the sheet that Randy went over last week is on the Facebook page. So if you guys missed that, go there. It is there. So just go to files. You'll see it's one of the last things uploaded there. And remember, whenever Randy puts something back there, always remember to put your name on it. He has it so you can customize it with your name. So make sure you take his name off and put your name on. So thank you guys again on this holiday Monday for joining us for the Cdlp call. We appreciate you guys every week being with us and working with us through this. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. And we're definitely looking forward to this conference coming up in October, first week of October, to see everybody again after the last 2 years. So everybody enjoy the rest of their evening, and we'll talk to you guys all soon.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone, thank you guys.
Have a blessed week.
For the info. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.